Today we're learning about the kaiju species that Godzilla and Kong are going to be facing in the future movies by Goji Center. This is interesting because we argue about these so freaking much. Leave a like, subscribe, check out Goji Center, link down below. They just hit 1 million subscribers. That's awesome. All right, let's get into it. All right.
Warning, this episode may contain potential spoilers for the upcoming film Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. The information discussed here is pure speculation and should not be regarded as official or canon to the Monsterverse.
I'm most likely going to anyways, though.
Such as this orangutan have to tell us about the new Monsterverse villain. Today, we'll try to do our best to uncover some potential attributes of this new monster and see if we can figure this guy out before the release of GXK. Note that there have already been some leaks circling around this new ape titan that may or may not be officially true, some of which may have mentioned this ape by its name. Now, this is your last warning before we make mention of a couple of these leaks.
Oh man, this is intense. I was going to ignore leaks, but I'm already here, like I'm sucked into it.
And also, since we don't really have the official name of the species that he belongs to, we'll be referring to them as the Red Apes.
It's a safe description.
Upon its first appearance in the title reveal trailer, many people instantly took note of its glowing eyes, reddish-brown appearance, and lanky build. And some went as far as comparing this fella to the Beast Titan from Attack on Titan.
There are some similarities.
The big monkey titan that had an absolute field day with all sorts of opponents, ranging from technologically deprived islanders to people who had firearms and other explosive weaponry down to a science. Similar to these guys in Enlisted, today's sponsor.
Oh, that's a fancy sponsor sneaking right there.
And now, let's get back to the new
forgot what we were doing.
Titan.
Damn.
So back to the Scar King, we'll be covering 5 attributes that may give this guy a critical edge when facing off bulky opponents like
those adorable little monkey skulls.
Using what may be the real-life creature that inspired its design and characteristics, the orangutan.
I mean, it's gotta be an orangutan.
Comparison between orangutans and Scar King is not going to be a perfect 1-to-1.
Whoa! I heard somebody at my door. I thought I was gonna die.
Remember, all titans are not normal animals and follow their own rule sets. Instead, this perspective discussed in this episode will use orangutans and gorillas as plausible benchmarks.
What's crazy is orangutans are like one of the strongest apes. We just don't really think about it much.
With Scar King? Well, there are many clues. The presence of lanky appendages, red coloration of fur, and the fact that orangutans, as far as cognitive abilities go, can be far more complex than that of gorillas, which are physically more stronger than orangutans, but aren't necessarily as crafty. Let's delve deeper into the differences of these two kaijus by assigning them the apes that were potentially used as chief real-world references.
See, in this photo, I'd say Kong could beat the crap out of him,
for
but
the Kong and orangutans for Scar King.
There's gonna be other things afoot, for sure.
Number 1, base differences. Despite being the great ape that is most distantly related to humans, one of the orangutan's most notable attributes is their cognitive ability. In fact, the word orangutan comes from the Mayala words orang-hutan, which together mean forest person.
Are you serious? That's what that means?
Male orangutans,
what the hell?
Unlike male gorillas, tend to be solitary creatures and are shown to demonstrate aggression towards other males to set up a territory. They can live in groups, and when they do, they show complex social dynamics, including empathy, consoling, and even alliances and coalitions. A much more complex social system than a group of gorillas. These guys, as well as the Kong species, are actually very social creatures. It's extremely rare to see a single male gorilla by itself wandering about.
That would be weird, just one gorilla.
Isolated, gorillas tend to get sick, stressed, and even develop symptoms similar to depression. Sound familiar? Yeah, our boy Kong has been alone for a while.
Oh,
and
man.
the worst place to be alone at such a young age was Skull Island. Scar King, however, would probably not have any issues with being alone. But does this actually mean that he's going to be alone in the next film?
I feel so bad for Kong, dude.
And maybe no. This is a talking point that we're going to be revisiting later in this episode. Remember that orangutans can form alliances or entities such as the said coalitions. Keep this in mind as we move further in the episode. Number 2, deception.
Deception?
This category will help us understand that orangutan intelligence is a little more complex than that of gorillas in regards to social interaction. There are not many examples of deception employed by gorillas in the wild. In captivity, there is a recorded instance where the male gorilla would purposefully hide from the mother of the child to play with the infant, despite her not wanting him to do so.
It's crazy how that is like a slight form of deception in a way also.
There are many cases where orangutans employ deceptive tactics against other members of their own kind and other species. In one case, certain individuals were seen using foliage to blast their calls through them, modifying their voices and in the act sounding like bigger and more powerful apes.
That's actually insane
with
to have recorded.
In captivity. Ken Allen, a male orangutan at the San Diego Zoo, became well known for its deceptive habit of escaping his enclosure many times and acting innocent when under surveillance. Once the zookeepers would go away, Ken would get right back at trying to escape. This guy went ahead and would teach other orangutans how to get out.
Bro is literally Caesar from Planet of the Apes. That's insane.
Ken Allen himself hasn't escaped from this exhibit for
That
almost
90s
a year
haircut.
now. That doesn't mean he's lost interest.
Those
Most
80s.
people here think he's the mastermind behind these other successful attempts.
I was already kind of thinking she looked demonic, and then they made it slow motion.
This species can actually teach others how to do the same as well. Another fella known as Fu Manchu would fashion a lockpick from a wire to let himself out, hiding this tool inside his mouth, understanding that this little device is important for escape. Just like Ken, this orangutan
I don't trust
escaped
orangutans
many
nearly
times.
as much as I
Because
did when we started this video.
Basically a master of deception, we can assume that Scar King will probably have these same attributes. Being an extremely crafty titan means that it would be able to do things Kong can't. Now, admittedly, Kong was a pretty deceptive creature himself as well, as seen in the Battle of Hong Kong where he successfully lured Godzilla to face away from him. This deceptive nature in Kong is one of the few attributes that he highly outperforms gorillas in. One could say Kong outperforms orangutans in deception as well, but will he be better at this than Scar King? If we think about this for a second, deceit will be one of the many attributes that Scar King will have to
Oh
be
my
better
god,
at,
he's gonna
since
lure
he
Kong
already
into
lacks
thinking
a
he's family,
robust
and then he's gonna
build,
stab him in the
meaning that
face.
rather than focusing on strength, this guy would be highly dependent on his wits.
Kong needs the family so bad, he's gonna fall right for
Intelligence
it.
does not end in deceit. Coming up, can these animals give us clues about any potential weaponry? Enjoying this episode? Friendly reminder for you to subscribe. And go subscribe to Goji Shorts too. Watch fun Monsterverse kaiju shorts, dinosaurs, and stuff that will scare your friends.
I'm wearing shorts.
Okay, that's it. Number 3, tool use. Scar King's use of tools can maybe be hinted at by the tool use proficiency found in orangutans. Note that in the real world, orangutans are animals that don't just eat plants and fruits, but also consume meat, such as fish, but it doesn't end there.
I've never thought of them fishing before.
Only few of the great apes that eat other apes.
Gnarly.
Orangutans are seen fashioning prods to scare catfish out of the water to grab them, altering existing tools to improve them, using deductive reasoning to understand what tools are best for the task at hand, and using makeshift whips to scare away or get animals of other species to stay at bay. Scar King would maybe display
so
these
intelligent,
traits,
but then you
at
see
a
him
more
do it, and it's
magnified
like kind of
scale.
funny looking.
But first, let's talk about gorillas and the Kong species. This female gorilla here is seen using a stick to gauge the depth of this small body of water to see if it's safe to cross. This is one of the few examples we have. In comparison to orangutans, gorillas don't really display vast amounts of tool use
Their
in the real
boobs
world
absolutely
due to the fact
freak
that
me out,
most of
but
the
I can move
activities that
past
they
it.
partake in can be facilitated by their own bodies. No need to use rocks to crack fruits open when you boast the 5th most powerful bite in the animal kingdom.
They can
And
just
since
bite
being
it open,
extremely strong
damn.
solves most, if not all of your problems when it comes to defense and hunting. Except gorillas are strictly vegetarian, so no need to use any tools to capture prey like their Asian counterparts.
Look at this guy.
This is one of the other main differences between Monsterverse Kong and gorillas. Our Kong here feeds on mostly meat and rarely relies on tools to hunt and dispatch them, but its species can meticulously craft weaponry. But will these weapons be better than Scar King's? If we use gorillas and orangutans as base reference, it's likely that Scar King might have even more intricate tools or have one tool capable of being a multi-use weapon,
vertebrae whip.
one which could level the playing field against a much stronger kaiju. Number 4, observation.
Ooh.
One thing is learning from your own kind, but another is learning from another species. All apes are capable of seeing and
I think we could all agree that Scar King is going to have some tamed monsters, some tamed crawlers or something.
Orangutans are a bit more interesting. In the real world, we find that even amongst themselves, orangutans will employ tactics and tool sets that are unique to their regions or territories. Several researchers have used the word culture to describe these behaviors. They take this a step further by not only learning from their seniors, but also learning from other smaller animals. Orangutans have been observed to study gibbons, observing how they access new food sources, and then copying these methods themselves.
I want to teach them to use a gun.
Humans. That's right, orangutans are known to learn things from us, such as the catfish retrieval method mentioned earlier, which was likely then learned by another orangutan, and so on. What you're looking at now is an orangutan learning how to use a saw, first determining which side was sharp and recalling how this tool is used, and for what. Will Scar King be as observant as real-world orangutans?
Whoa, dude.
This is actually very likely the case. It's
gonna have
possible that this guy is
superpowers.
older than Kong, so he already has experience and knowledge attained from other members of his kind that are now dead or maybe still alive.
What's gonna happen is Kong's gonna make fun of his hairline and then it's gonna go on, like,
as well.
go down.
We must also mention that the Kong species isn't so far behind on this as well. After all, the novelization of Godzilla vs. Kong does state that the Iwi and Kongs did once live together, implying that Kongs also learned a few things from humans.
Ooh, that's
Scar
a good
King
point.
and his kind, on the other hand, could maybe do the same, but better.
Well, damn.
If this kaiju is some sort of titan used to spearhead a coalition of red apes, it is perhaps possible that his knowledge is passed down to other members of his kind as well. Now, let's get into the last and most trippy segment of this episode.
I don't trust these red monkeys at all, dude. They seem so freaking evil.
Communication. How well could Scar King communicate? In GVK, we witnessed Kong communicate via ASL, American Sign Language. Kong was obviously taught this method of communication, similar to how modern-day apes are taught sign language. In this case, both gorillas and orangutans are capable of communicating in this fashion, capable of making themselves understood and exchanging in complex conversations.
I wonder if that ape ate that lady.
What advantages do orangutans have over gorillas, and what could Scar King's advantage be over Kong? Orangutans are some of the most outwardly cognizant animals, going as far as understanding concepts of exchange and using certain objects as currency to get things in return. Even if an orangutan is not taught sign language, they are capable of pantomiming, using their hands to point at objects in an attempt to get a message across, and they do this quite effectively.
That is
like
trippy.
This fella who was
Imagine
able
if your
to get
dog
these
could point
humans
to, like,
dig inside
stuff
this
on the
purse
counter
to see what was inside. Scar King will likely not be able to talk to humans from the get-go because there's nobody down here teaching this dude sign language that we know of. Despite this, perhaps Scar King would be able to communicate with humans and Kong with other methods, pantomiming like his apparent real-world counterparts, or skipping humanity altogether and talking to Kong. This exchange in dialogue is a lot more likely to happen in this film. It would be really cool to witness a scene where Kong and Scar King share some sort of dialogue, either through vocalizations or signaling.
They both look so epic and match for each other.
Insults, or even bullying. This is where a much more witty and manipulative kaiju would have an edge, getting inside Kong's head and making him act more erratic. Today, we learned that orangutan intelligence is a bit different than that of gorillas, probably suggesting that Scar King's character and abilities may give him an edge against Kong. But will this be enough to face both Kong and Godzilla? Subscribe to not miss another episode further discussing Scar King and more theories before the release of GXK. Don't forget to hit that link in the description so you and your friends can play Enlisted and receive 3 days of premium time and troop and weapon orders to give you a head start in the battlefield. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.
That's why I feel like Godzilla and Kong are gonna be separated in this movie. Like, Godzilla's gonna be handling some stuff on the surface, Kong will be handling some stuff underground. Otherwise, I feel like he could fool Kong, but Godzilla would never fall for this kind of crap. He would just kill him. He's dealt with, like, Monster Zero. Like, after you deal with Monster Zero, you're not gonna fall for some stupid monkey's traps, but Kong might trust him. Kong's, like, desperate for family. Freaking intense, dude. Leave a like, subscribe for more, subscribe to Goji Center as well, and I'll see you next time.